Hello, hello, hello. How is everybody? Great to be here as always. Today is May 27th. It's a Tuesday, and I hope everybody's having a good day wherever you are. Nice to see my buddy Peter Rogers in the chat. How you doing, Pete? And also big thank you to John Berea monitoring the chat area for me as well. Let's dive straight into it then. As far as on passive ecosystem is concerned, nothing new there. As I keep saying, make sure you check it once a day. That's where the updates are going to be. And obviously, we are waiting to hear from our CEO, but that is where the information is going to be. Are we going to see him this week? Don't know, is the answer to that. I sincerely hope so. But obviously, it remains to be seen. I know that he is traveling a lot at the moment and he is extremely busy. I will say this, though, that if you remember, back to when we heard him on the 3 webinars at last month and at the very beginning of this month, he did say that he wouldn't come and do a webinar just for the sake of it. Unless he has something to bring to the table, then he wouldn't do a webinar. So my understanding from that is that he hasn't got new information for us, or information that he's allowed to divulge with us at the moment. And obviously we just wait and keep positive, keep pushing forward until we have a webinar again with our CEO. As always, I do try and bring something to the table that might make you think a little bit. It might make you look at yourself a little bit, maybe, or give you more of an insight of how things work and how things operate. And today's topic is perspective. I quite like this topic, to be honest. Why? Because perspective is one of those things that is not necessarily just to do with how to draw something. If you were to talk to most people about perspective, they would be talking about how to do 2D, 3D, 4D images, and how to make things look narrower and further apart and all the rest of it. That's within the art world of perspective. But as far as the business world of perspective, it has a lot more meanings. And the reason I wanted to bring this to the table today is because everybody's perspective really is a little bit different. But just because your perspective of something is your idea or your opinion of it, it's not necessarily the same as somebody else. Now, you can both be right, of course, because you've got different perspectives of the same thing. As I showed on the picture for this video, there's two guys looking at a figure on the one saying it's number 6 and the other one saying number 9. Guess what? They're both right, but they're both different. And that is why perspective is a very important thing, because it opens up and allows people to have differences of opinion. You might both be right, but you've got different perspectives of the same thing. And I certainly believe at the moment, with where we are within the business of this transition from on passive ecosystem and the on passive business through to the next stage of our business, people's perspectives are different. Now, myself and Chris particularly, and Marty as well, we've been banging the information drum as far as what our CEO brought out in the 3 webinars that we've had, to try and get everybody's perspective of what is going to happen aligned with our CEOs. That means that we are trying to give them the same viewpoint and vision of what is going to happen as he has. A lot of people have got a different perspective of what's going to happen and have interpreted things that were said in those videos and webinars differently to how we are trying to get the word across. Does it make them right and me wrong, or me right and them wrong? No, not necessarily. It means that they haven't quite grasped the correct perspective of what is trying to be said. Now, before I go into a bit more depth, let's just have a look at what it says about perspective within business. This refers to different viewpoints, approaches, or ways of viewing and understanding a business situation. Also, its goals and its challenges. These perspectives can be based on different roles within the organization, different shareholders, for instance, or even aspects of the business itself. Considering multiple perspectives is crucial for effective decision making, problem solving, and innovation. There's also other parts to it as well. Let's have a look at the customer perspective of business. Understanding the needs of a customer's, their expectations and preferences is crucial for developing products and services that meet their needs and satisfy their expectations. Now, I'm going to expand that just a little bit here. I've talked about business before. Jane and I have had multiple businesses, been successful in majority of them, and we've got in, done our thing with the business, got out and sold at profits, etc. One thing I can tell you is that whatever your perspective of what you think the customer wants is not necessarily the correct perspective to have. What do I mean by that? Is that whenever you start a business, you had this idea in your head of what you are trying to achieve, what products and services you are trying to sell, and what the customer actually wants. But that's not necessarily the true outcome of what the customer actually does want. For instance, I'm a chef by trade and I come from the hospitality business. My idea of the menu that I think customers would like in the area and the establishment that I am doing business from might not be what the customers who enter that establishment actually really want. For instance, I could be doing high quality, high class meals at a price point, and all they want is pie and mash and fish and chips. Sometimes what you have to do is to change your viewpoint because you had that perspective wrong of what the customer actually wants. And that is not wrong to do that. Okay. It is crucial, really, for the development of your business that you satisfy their needs and, more importantly, their expectations of what your business is trying to achieve. For instance, how many times do you buy something online? I had exactly this today. You look at an advert of something, you have a perspective of what that thing is because of your looking at this advert, and you order something online because you've got this perspective of what the thing is you are buying. Guess what? When it turns up, nothing like what your idea or perspective of that product is. This is why it's crucial for you to get that part right from the customer point of view. It is imperative that you know your customer base, that you know what you are trying to achieve, what you are trying to sell is what the customer is desiring and looking for. Also, understanding the needs and expectations of investors and shareholders is essential for ensuring long-term financial success. That doesn't necessarily apply to us, but it does apply to most businesses. Why? Because whatever your perspective of your shareholders or investors is, you need them on your side so that they are continuing with you as an investor in your business, so that your business can expand, and that money from the investors and shareholders is recycled and put back into other projects. Also, there's a thing called supplier perspective as well. Understanding the needs and capabilities of suppliers can improve the supply chain and reduce costs. Again, this is another part of business that a lot of us don't even understand or acknowledge or really know how it works. But in many businesses, you have buyers for your business. These are people or procurers who go out and they basically find the products and services that you are trying to sell or need to make the products that you are going to sell, so that you can provide the customer with the products, and all of these bits and pieces come together. Again, if you've got the wrong perspective of your supplier, for instance, you think that he's a trustworthy guy, that he delivers on time and all the rest of it, because that is the thing that you've been told. If you don't double check it and make sure that's all correct, guess what? It's going to let down that supply chain, which in turn is going to affect you building the products and services to sell to the customers. And remember, a lot of companies now actually do order to sell rather than make the product to sell it. Why? Because it reduces costs immensely if you've actually had the money up front for a product that has a lead time of, we'll say, 2 weeks. It reduces the cash flow part of a business, because it means that that money has already gone into that product, and then you can take the profit end of it out and then give the customer what they have bought. But that all depends on you as a business making sure that you have that supply chain through the parts that need to come together. You need to have that perspective right of your suppliers, otherwise that all goes out the window. There's also a regulatory perspective as well, and that is understanding the regulations and legal requirements that affect your business and help ensure compliance and avoid legal battles. How many times have we heard our CEO telling us that part and parcel of business is making sure that within every country that you are working within, that you have taken the time to make sure that you are regulated in the right manner for your business to operate in that country. Your perspective of that business in that country should come down to the knowledge that you have gained by taking the time to investigate what is needed for me to be legal in that country. If you don't do the right measures, then your perception of what is right and what is wrong is going to be incorrect, and that will lead you into an awful lot of hot water. This is why having a perspective of something is one thing, but you have to act on what your perception of it is. We can all say, I thought this and I was wrong and all the rest of it, but that is just you taking the easy option out of not doing the correct things because you perceived it to be one thing and it ended up being another thing. That is really not good for your business. You can have a perspective, but you also need to have that firm knowledge base alongside what you thought as well. There's another thing called functional perspectives. It's amazing what you find out when you start researching just one word. Now, this is all to do with business. There's a marketing perspective, believe it or not. Understanding the market, targeted audiences, and competitive landscape is essential for developing effective market strategies. How many times have we been told about specific targeted traffic? Don't you think having the right perspective of exactly what marketing we need to ensure the success of the sales of the business is part and parcel of a successful business? Patty Prescott, thank you for joining the Tea Clubbers and welcome. It's very kind of you. In fact, let me put you up in lights. There you go. Again, having that right marketing strategy is key to a successful business. We know with our CEO that he has got the right perspective on that. He talked about it on the last webinar about how things have changed over the last 3 to 5 years as far as marketing is concerned. AI now has a huge influence on how marketing works, excuse me, and also evolves. He was telling us about how excited he is to not only develop new AI strategies as far as marketing is concerned that nobody else is using right now, that's going to be disruptive, and everybody is going to want to use our marketing tools and services, but also how excited he is to introduce top marketeers to the new phase of our business, people that he never invited into on passive. That goes to show how excited he is about what is going to be happening in this next phase. That's his perspective of his excitement of what is going to happen. And he's backing all this up by the research that he's doing behind the scenes to make sure that his perspective of what is going to happen actually turns into reality. There's also a sales perspective as well as part of the functional perspective. I'm using the word perspective a lot here, aren't I? Understanding the sales process, customer acquisitions, and the sales performance is critical for achieving revenue targets. Absolutely. Part of a successful business is making sure that the targets that you are setting out within your business model are achieved. This is part of what our CEO is trying to achieve for us. He has targets that he would like us all to attain within our own businesses, but he's also got targets that his business, the whole, wants to achieve as well. And you can only do that by understanding the sales process and the customer acquisitions. You've also got an operational perspective as well, understanding the processes, resources, and efficiency of the business operations is crucial for optimizing productivity and reducing cost. Very important. He talked at length, didn't he, about how he felt that on passive was overexposed and over funded as far as people was concerned. He thought by throwing an awful lot of people at various things within the business was the right way of getting over hurdles to be able to produce the products and services quicker. He's learnt a lot from those mistakes and now almost turn that upside down by employing people who are far better, far more efficient. And this comes under the umbrella of understanding the processes, resources, and efficiency of the business operations. This is crucial for the success of productivity and reducing costs. Again, I believe this is a massive step forward in the right direction. Why? Because the people that he has in place now are certainly aligned with the vision of what he is trying to achieve. We're not branching off into other areas that have nothing to do with that core business. I certainly believe that that is a massive lesson learned as far as our resources are concerned. And the last one is the financial perspective Understanding the financial performance, profitability, and cash flow of the business is essential for making sound financial decisions. Again, I believe we're in a much better place now than we were. Why? Because Ash will be the first to admit that certain things that money was spent on on passive was money not well spent. That financial resource of advertising and other things as well was not put to its best effect or from a monetary point of view. Again, lessons learned. And this is where having the right financial performance in place must be put there so that it solidifies the resourcefulness of your business. There is a lot of other perspectives as well that you can come across. Organizational perspectives, benefits of multiple perspectives even. These are all part and parcel of a successful business. And how you analyze your perception of all of these by taking that on board and then using the knowledge of what you think it is to make sure it is exactly what you perceive it to be. Having an idea, having a perception of something is one thing. What you should do and must do as far as business is concerned is to make sure that you just don't leave it to your perception of something, that you instigate a policy or plan, put it in place so that your idea of what it might or might not be is actually confirmed yes or no. If you do this within business, then you know you are on the right track because you have a perception of something. But what you're also doing is you are then taking action to make sure that you are having proof of what you think that is or that part. And then you have a much better knowledge base because you have actioned something to prove it is what you thought. Anyway, guys, I will leave it at that for you for today. I hope it's been of interest. I hope it's maybe helped you think a little bit more about all of the cogs in a business world that have to be thought about. It's not just about having a business idea. It's not just about building something or a platform and then letting us all have a go at it. That's not how business works. There is so many components to businesses that have to be thought out, instigated, checked, crossed the T's and dotted the I's to make sure that everything that you are doing within your business has been well thought out, has been well executed, so nothing is left to chance. I firmly believe that this stage that we're in at the moment of us moving into that next stage is exactly all of those components that are being double checked, that are being made sure that they are exactly what our CEO perceives them to be, so that when we move across into the next phase, we're not just going there with fingers crossed. We're going there with knowledge, we're going there with confidence because everything has been checked. That's it from me for today, guys. I'll be back tomorrow, Wednesday, for some more. I'll come up for another topic, do some research for it, and then hopefully bring it to the table, and it will increase your knowledge base of what goes on behind the scenes, and maybe to think a little bit more about this complicated web of business that we are all part of. That's it from me. Bye for now.